James Parker was the kind of man everyone respected. At 62 years old, he was not only a devoted husband and a loving father, but also a reliable friend to anyone who crossed his path. He had spent his life putting others first, valuing the happiness of his family and community above all else. Born and raised in a small town, James learned the value of hard work and kindness from his parents. He was a carpenter who built homes for many families in the area, often accepting less payment when he knew his clients were struggling. Sometimes, helping someone is more important than making a few extra dollars, he often told his wife Margaret. Every week, he volunteered at a local shelter, not just serving meals, but also listening to the stories of those who had fallen on hard times. Many of the homeless people in town called him Uncle James because he treated them with the same kindness he would show a family member. Beyond his work in charity, James was also a devoted grandfather. He spent hours building small wooden houses with his grandchildren, telling them stories about life and the importance of patience and kindness. To him, the most valuable things in life weren't money or status, but love and compassion. However, despite being a good man, life had not always been easy for James. When he was younger, he lost his best friend in an accident. That loss made him think deeply about life and death, teaching him to cherish every moment and believe that every person he met had a purpose in his life. One summer afternoon, while tending to his garden, a passion that connected him to nature, James suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. His legs trembled and cold sweat covered his forehead. Margaret ran to him in a panic and immediately called for an ambulance. At the hospital, James drifted in and out of consciousness. The beeping of machines, the hurried voices of nurses, and the bright white lights blurred into an overwhelming haze. The pain was unbearable, rendering him unable to move or speak. It felt as if he were being pulled into a vast, dark emptiness, his body falling weightlessly into the unknown. And then, amidst the chaos, a voice broke through. "James, you're going to be okay." Instantly, a profound sense of peace washed over him. James opened his eyes and saw a man standing beside his hospital bed. The man was tall, dressed in a crisp white coat, but the most striking feature was his silver hair and deep, knowing eyes that seemed to have witnessed centuries pass by. Under the cold, clinical lights of the hospital room, the doctor's expression was not hurried like the others. Instead, he was calm, exuding an unshakable confidence. His gentle smile carried an unspoken reassurance, as if he knew, without a doubt, that James would survive. "You don't need to worry," the doctor said, his voice warm and soothing, melting away the fear in James's heart. "Just relax. We'll get through this together." James wanted to ask who he was, but his throat was too dry, and he could not form words. He could only stare at the man, feeling the doctor's hand rest lightly on his shoulder. A touch that was impossibly warm, almost radiating with a quiet strength. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The beeping of the machines faded, the room around them blurred, and it felt as if only James and the silver-haired doctor existed in that space. Then, unexpectedly, the crushing pain in James's chest began to ease. His breathing steadied, his heart seemed to find its rhythm again. And just as he felt strong enough to speak, the doctor gave him one last smile and said, "You're ready now." Before James could grasp the meaning of those words, his eyelids grew heavy and he drifted into a deep sleep. The surgery lasted for several hours, but James survived. When he awoke, he found Margaret sitting beside him, tears of relief in her eyes. "You were very lucky," she whispered. "A wonderful doctor helped you pull through. The nurses said your chances weren't good." James smiled weakly. "The doctor with silver hair, right?" Margaret frowned. "What doctor?" "The one who spoke to me before the surgery. He held my hand. He told me I'd be okay," James insisted. Margaret shook her head. "Honey, there was no such doctor. The nurses said the surgical team was made up of young doctors. No one matches your description." Confused, James asked the hospital staff, describing the mysterious doctor. But every nurse, every surgeon, and even the hospital records confirmed the same thing. There was no such doctor working there. His name was not on the list of medical staff, and no one had seen a silver-haired man that night. James knew what he had seen. He could still hear the warmth in the doctor's voice, still feel the reassuring weight of his hand on his shoulder. It was too vivid, too real to be just a dream. Slowly, he realized that he didn't need to find an answer. Perhaps in the moment between life and death, God had sent an angel to guide him back. And to James, that was nothing short of a miracle.